Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today in the Masechtas Rosh Hashana daf Chaf Aleph, we are going to begin on the very top of Chaf Aleph and Aleph. We were discussing on the previous daf that Kol Sfeika L'Kamei Shadinam. Anytime that we have a doubt as far as is it a chaser, is it a mole, is it a 29-day month, a 30-day month, so therefore, in a case of doubt, we always continue and add an extra day, which of course is the reason why when we are in Yom Tov Sheni Shagolius, for example, in Sukkot, 15th is what the Torah says of Tishrei, and then we add an extra day, the 16th. The Gemara said, well, maybe it should be the suffix the 14th. Let's say both days are chaser. So we concluded and said that's not possible because if that would be kol islahu, then people would have heard about it. As we continue again on Chaf Aleph and Aleph, first line, Levi ikla bubble the chadsar. So Levi, he went to Bubble on the 11th, Tishrei. So Amr basim tefshila de Babeloi b'yom rabba, that the people of Bubble, they were cooking their dishes on Yom Rabba, which is Yom Kippur, which of course is on the 10th. Says Rashi, Achul lechem l'madanim b'Yom Kippurim sheberetz Yisrael. They're eating and taking care of all these different things on Yom Kippur, which is the 10th of Tishrei. Shahari based in Ibur Sachodesh v'Yimasanim. Because it was an Ibur Yor, it was the 30th day, so therefore they were actually fasting. The Merava Amrile Asid, they said, testify, says Rashi, Nekabel Lenu V'lo Noichal, accept upon us and not to eat. Sarmahu, Lo Shemati Mepi based in Mekudesh. I never heard the Beis Din say the words Mekudesh. And Rashi says, Al Kulam Shluchim Yoitzim Be'erev, as we're going to see soon. So let's hold off on the rest of that Rashi. The Machas Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan made the following announcement: Kol Heicha D'Mata Shluchim Nisan. Any time where the Shluchim are able to travel to get to their destination before Pesach in the month of Nisan, V'Mata Shluchi Tishrei. However, they're not able to travel in the month of Tishrei, since there are also days like, again, in the month of Tishrei, Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, where they can't travel, as opposed to when we're talking about Pesach, when they have more days. So when it comes to Pesach, the month of Nisan, so again, there's no other holidays in the month of Nisan until you get to that. So they are able to get to a further destination. So on this, Mar says, Levdu Trey Yoime, we should have 2 days. Gezer Nisan Ata Tishrei. We're going to be Gezer Nisan because of Tishrei. So, what does that mean? So let's look at this Rashi. Shelo nitnu achal shluchim. We do not allow the shluchim to be machal. K'desani b'pirkin. We're going to see later on in this daf, al kriyasam at machalo, that you could be machal Shabbos to testify about citing the new moon, so that the Beis Din can proclaim Rosh Chodesh. V'iyat machal al kiyumam. However, you cannot be machal Shabbos to inform the outlying areas to let them know it's Rosh Chodesh. L'fichach, therefore, shluchin Nisan megin l'makom shin shluchin Tish megin. The people that go out in the month of Nisan will be able to reach further because, as Rashi says, Shari ein yom tovim b'netayim l'akman. There's no other holidays that hold them back. With Tishrei yesh Rosh Hashana v'Yom Kippurim she'ena shluchim hoyachan boy. So because there's these extra days, so they're not going to be able to get as far. So the truth is, when it comes to Nisan, there is less of a suffix. People are going to know even from far away. But we're Geyser Nisan onto Tishrei, where there's less of a likelihood that people are going to know, so therefore we also require 2 days of Nisan too. Rabbi Abu Bar Negare Barachia Bar Abba Nikaluhu Atra, they reached this particular city, Dahavi Mata Shluchi Nisan, in which the messengers were able to go really far, all the way to that location, because it was in Nisan. However, Lo Mata Shluchi Tishrei, they were not able to get there in the month of Tishrei, again, because there's less days for them to travel there before Sukkot. The Yavdi Chad Yoima, they only made 1 day in that place. They didn't say, no one said a word. So, l'chayr, we see that we're not Geyser Nisan Ata Tishrei. So they were there in the month of Nisan, and they said, okay, we know what day it is, so we don't have to have 2 days. So Shem Rabbi Yochanan heard about this, the one who just mentioned above, who's Machras Rabbi Yochanan, that yet you're supposed to make it 2 days, the Ikbid, and you can understand he was upset about it, because apparently they're not doing what they should. So Amalhu, didn't I tell you, Yomi? I don't care, it's the month of Nisan, and you know. We still have to have 2 days, because they're Nisan Atu Tishrei. Where Geyser, we don't want people to make a mistake and 1 day here, so they'll make 1 day in Tishrei, where they themselves will not know because they're too far away. They're not going to get to that information. So he was noig that he used to actually fast for 2 days. Rashi says, say him together with the night times. Shema Ibru based in as a Chodesh. Maybe they made Rosh Chodesh the 30th day of Elul. The Yom Achad Aser Shalanu who is Sir Shalhen. The 11th day is really the 10th day. So again, if the 30th day is still Elul and it's not the 1st of Tishrei, that will make Yom Kippur, not the 10th, will make the 11th. So therefore, B'Safik, he fasted for 2 days. Zimnachade Ishtaka Chavase. And one time Ataka turned out to be just as he said. Rav Nachman Yasab Tanisa Kul Yom Kippuri U'orta. He used to fast including that night. Also, who Gaber Mulei Lamacher Yom Rabba, he said, well, tomorrow is actually Yom Kippur. So in other words, by that time, he was able to determine and find out whether or not he has to continue fasting. And in fact, that case was the situation. But Rabba Hecha At, from where are you? So Malay Mi Demahar, which is some location. So Malay Dam Tehei Acharisai Karile Kalim Hayu Roid Feinu. That he read upon him that our pursuers are very quick. So what does it mean? The blood should be upon you. It says Rashi, Harini Mace Al Yoncha Shitazkikeni Lisanas Beis Yamin. You forced us now, then we have to fast the second day. Ubeis Leilos. Dam Tehachriso Nekritain Shel Dam Harya. So he's saying like that's like almost like an abbreviation of the name of the place where you're on, because you made it exceedingly difficult for a person to be able to fast for 2 days. Shalach li Rav Huna bar Avin lo Rava. Kad chozes the moshcha to kufas teves ad shitzer b'nisan. The person is able to extend, if in the event that they see that it's still the winter, the kufas teves, until the 16th of Nisan. Up until that point, abro lahi shaita. At that point, you should then make an other sheni. If it's still tekufas teves, it's still cold and it's still chayef, then a person should make an other sheni to make it become the springtime. And don't be concerned. That the kufa of the spring has to be of Aviv. It should be in the month of Nisan, and therefore you have to sometimes make an extra other in order to be able to push off so that we're not still into Kufas Teves. Looking in Rashi, you will say don't say this is just an individual opinion. Don't do like this. We should do it this, skimming 2 lines. In Rashi, Shenisan Kari Ovid. Nisan is the spring. Al Shem Bishul Hatavua. It's the time of the ripening of the grains. Ubishul Hatavua Enu Ella L'Cheshbaina Shulchama. It's based on the solar calendar. So even though we hold by the lunar calendar, by everything else, when it comes to spring, and specifically Pesach, which is at springtime, it's totally on the solar calendar. And that's the reason why we have to have an other sheni, that we should always be celebrating Pesach in the spring. The sun, the winter and the summer is based on the sun, not on the moon. The Ein Lashon Chiddush Neifel Ella Bolavana. Skipping a few more lines, Kishihi Bob Yom Tes Zayin B'Nisan. Once it's the 16th, Lo Daiwan B'Ibura Shel Adar. At that point, it's not enough to be able to say it's an extra day, an extra month. Usrich Hashana L'Saber V'Tipol HaTekufa B'Adar Sheni. Nimsa Nisan Shulchama Meishach V'Soi Chodesh Nisan Halavana. Okay, so again, it must be renewed. It must be during the renewal of the moon not by the 16th when the moon is getting smaller. Okay. Omruhu Rav Nachman Lahanhu Nechuse Yoma. Those individuals who are sailors in the sea, which there's no way you can tell them this information. You don't know exactly how we establish what day is Rosh Chodesh. So how are they able to celebrate Pesach? While they're on a ship. When you see it, the full moon, the mashlim, that's complete, it concludes its shine. At that time, you could know you should do bir chametz. You should burn your chametz because Pesach is right here. So Amos mashlim, let's say, what does that take place? That's a complete full moon. The chamesar, we know it's on the 15th. The 15th is already Pesach. Vahanan miar beisar mavarinan. You're supposed to burn the chametz on the 14th, and Erev Pesach on the 15th. Where it says l'didhu demigalu alma miar beisar mashlim. When it comes to those who are on a boat, the full moon for them actually appears because of the clarity of where they are on the 14th. Okay, let's see question TA 5. Yom Techilas Tekufas Nisan, the beginning of Kufa of Nisan, Masei Sarach Lochoil Lochol Hamochar. When must it fall at the very latest? Difficult question. This is what he says. Nisan. By the 14th, the Chsiv Shomer Sachodesh Aviv. Sha'aviv Dahainu Hatekufa Bechidish Halavana should be at the new the Chidish Halavana, new of the moon, Hainu Koinim Tesvav, before the 15th. Again, once it's already afterwards, it's now considered to be not the completion of the renewal of the moon, and therefore not on the 16th when it's already getting smaller. It has to be before that. Okay. Let's see the next Mishnah on Chafal Pumid Beis. Al Shnei Chodashim Mechalanas HaShabbos Al Nisan Val Tishrei. So there's 2 months in which we will Mechal Shabbos, Rashi said, Eidim Shiros HaChodesh, regarding witnesses who saw the moon, and it's the month of Nisan, the month of Tishrei. Shebehen Shluchim Yotzim, at that time, we send Shluchim, based and send Shluchim to Syria, to let the people know exactly how it's established. Again, these are the times in which we have the Moadim, the holidays. That's how we are Masakna the holidays. Only in those 2 months. However, when the Beis Hamikdash was around, we also used to do this, and we would allow the Eidim who saw the moon to be able to come anytime. Al Beis Chadashim V'Sulo, for the Gemara, only 2 and not anymore. It says Rashi, V'Sulo Nafki Shluchim, they can't go out. Elahani, only in these 2 months. They Tani Shebehen Shluchim Yotzim L'Surya. Minhu El Vav Chadashim Shluchim Yotzim. I thought we learned previously that they go out 6 months. So Amr Bai Hakkim Al Kulan Shluchim Yotzim Mibe'erev. When it comes to all of these, it says Rashi Gon Shenir Ba'ol B'Yom Chavtes. Let's see, you saw it with clarity on the 29th day. Mobilil Shloishim, or in the night of the 13th. In that situation, so skipping a couple lines, the Pshita one should be Yoim Lam Aleph Yiskadish. It's clear that the 31st day is sanctified. So therefore, Yotzim Erev, they go out the previous evening. So skipping a couple of lines of Rashi, the Ein Mamtinin Adal Machar, we don't wait until the next day. Sheyishmu Mekudish Mipi Beistin. We don't wait for the Beistin to sanctify it. However, on Nisan al Tishrei, Sheyishmu Mipi Beistin Mekudish. However, when it comes to Nisan and Tishrei, Ein Shluchim Yotzin Ad Sheyishmu Pi Beistin Mekudish, and therefore, when it comes to the other months, Ein Chil Shabbos, says Rashi, Ein Chil Shabbos, Shel Eidim Mamaheres Yitziris HaShluchim, Shen Shluchim Mechalon Shabbos Lo Seis Hayoyim, Shel Yavo HaEidim Hayom Yis'aber HaChodesh. Skipping a couple of lines. But when it comes to Nisan and Tishrei, Lo Yavo HaEidim Hayoyim. The witnesses don't come today, this Aber HaChodesh, and to sanctify the day. They're not going to go out until the next day. Shein based on Mekadsh B'Laila, because they can't be Mekadsh during the nighttime. Nimsu Mamatin as Hiluchan Mahalach Laila V'Yoser. So therefore they have less time. So since they have less time, we let them be Mechal Shabbos on Tishrei and Nisan. Al Kul and Yotzim Be'erev. On all the other months, they can go out even the night before. However, Al Nisan Al Tishrei, Ad Sheyishmu B'Beistin. Because again, it's connected to the Yom Tovim, which we want to be Mekadesh Yisrael through the Zmanim. So therefore, because of that, we require that you have to first hear Mekudesh from the Beis-Din. And if you have less time, that's why we're allowed to be Mechal Shabbos by Nisan and Tishrei only. How do we know that there is this truth that the Edom can even desecrate the Shabbos? So it says that these are the holidays. So Yochel Kashem Shemachalon Ad Shis Kadshu Kach Machalon Ad Shis Kaimu. So you would think that just like you can be Mekayim it in order to sanctify it by getting to the Beis-Din, so maybe you could also, in order to be able to make sure that people are Mekayim, to be able to fulfill it by letting people go out after to inform those people from far away. As we said, when it comes to Kriyasam, to let the Beis-Din know that you can be Mechal Shabbos for. However, once they're in Mekudesh, then we're not going to be Mechal Shabbos in order for just people to know, because all we'll do is we'll tell them they should just celebrate an extra day. It used to be the times of the Beis Hamikdash they would do this every month. Originally, everyone they were mechal for every month. However, Mishachar Beis Hamikdash, Rav Yochanan Zaka v'chi yesh carbon. He said, "Is there a carbon anymore?" So there's no reason to do this. Therefore, his hinu shlui he mechalan el anisan al tishrei bilvad. Even though Rav Yochanan Zaka, as we know, has made numerous other tekanos, zecher l'mikdash or b'meher b'yomeinu, as we see in numerous places, Masechta Sukkah, etc. Nonetheless, over here he says, no. There's no reason to be Mechal Shabbos, because the whole reason we're Mechal Shabbos is because of the carbon. There's no more carbon. Okay. Next Mishnah. Ben shenira ba'ol, ben shalonira ba'ol. Mechal loves the Shabbos. Whether you see the moon in its clear state or not, you should still be Mechal Shabbos. Now, even though you would see it in a very clear way, and therefore you would imagine probably other people nearby also saw it, so therefore maybe you don't have to be Mechal Shabbos. Rav Yossi Omer im nira ba'ol, ein Mechal Shabbos. If, let's say, you saw it in clarity, then you're not going to be Mechal Shabbos, because there's no need to, because there's probably someone else that did it already and saw it. And the Beis-Din probably was going to be Kaddish it before he came. There was one time that there's more than 40 pairs that came. And he stopped them. So Rabbi Gamliel said to Rabbi Kiva, if you hold them back now, you're going to cause them to stumble in the future, because they're going to say, why should I go? I remember last time I went, it was worthless, it was insignificant, they made me feel like I had no reason to go, so I'm not going to go now again. And it could be that you're the only witnesses. So my mashma, right, the Gemara, how do we know this is the case? How do we see this? The high Olil, in the language of O is Lishna, the Megalil, who is clear. So Rabbi the Pasuk says, Imas Hashem Amodois Tahadois, Kesev Sarf, regarding the purity of this purified silver, Ba'olil Aretz Mezukak Shivosayim. So it says the word Ba'olil, referring to it being revealed to the land, and therefore we see that the word Olil represents it, which is Megal, which is revealed, that's very clear, which was what the moon was. Rabbi Shmuel Chadaimer Nun Sharibina Nibra Ba'olil. There's actually 50 levels of understanding and knowledge that was created in the world. The Moshe had the 49 levels, but he was just missing one level of Bina. Shnemar, as the Pasuk says in Tehillim, Vatachasrehu Ma'at Melokim, that he was just missing a little bit from what Hashem knew. Bikesh Kohelas Limso Dibri Chayfetz. So what did Shlomo HaMelech want? So Bikesh, one pshat is, he wanted Kohelas Lios Moshe. He wanted to have the same level of Bina as Moshe Rabbeinu. So he said that's not possible. Yatsa Pascal b'Yermelu because Yosher Dibri Emes below come Navi Yoyin b'Yisrael Kamoshe. It says, we say this in Yigdal also, that there's no one greater than Moshe. V'chad Omer Nebaviim lo come, however Malachim come. Maybe only in the Nevi'im there's no one to be like Moshe. However, Shlomo Melech was not a Navi, he was a Melech, so maybe he was able to achieve that greatness. Elamani Mekayim Bikesh Kohelas Limsai Dibri Chayfetz. What was he hoping to accomplish? Bikesh Kohelas Lodin Dinim Shebeleim Shelo Be'edim Shelo B'Hasra. He was hoping to be able to have such foresight into the court cases in front of him that he would be able to do it in his heart without the need of witnesses or warning. Even if you have this such clarity that you know the correct answer, it doesn't make any difference. The din still is that you need witnesses. Look at this last Rashi. Mezukuk Shavatayim Sheva Shaviyos Dehem Chamishim Chas 7 sevens is what it means. Dehem Chamishim, that's 50 Chas Rachas minus 1. Shenimsu Moshe Lamanu Shechamishim Nivru. There was actually 50. Sharimat Nechser Melukim. Moshe is a little bit less than Hashem. So if Moshe had this element of this 49, right? So therefore, it's clear that it must be that Hashem had a little bit more, and therefore that's the 50. Okay, we're going to stop here. Let's see if there's another question here. Question 10. Bikesh koheles limsoy chayfet dibri chayfetz ma bikesh koheles l'niskabel bakashasai. His bakasha wasn't accepted. Either he wanted to have the same clarity in bina as Moshe, or bikesh l'dinim shebelev without edim and without hasra, and that also was not allowed because the pasuk says al pi shnayim edim adkan.